Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4 with playing the United States for the moment. Don't know how long this particular series will go on. I'm going to go back to my German series very shortly, but I just had an interest in playing this. And so we're here doing it. Okay, now we have Bureau of Ships. Your support of strategic doctrine. Carriers. Fund the Navy. That'll be really good. Yeah, I think I want to do that. Get some bonus time on some naval doctrines. Okay, now we up the production level. Factories, let's do so with air superiority. Home defense, or no, we're gonna do home defense, I guess. I think I like the German music pack. Now, you don't hear the German music pack songs when you're playing the Allies, if I understand correctly, but I think I like that better than the Allied radio, so far at least. Not training any units at the moment because we have such low manpower. Okay, so all those destroyers that we produced are in the production run. Well, not really seeing much of a difference here between these. Okay, a little better torpedo depth charge, so we're going to go with the Farragut class. I'm not a major naval expert. And we're going to increase there we go, more for the carrier than heavy cruisers. We're going to go to just one instead of infinity for those. Okay, fund the Navy, good. Expand the Marine Corps. Excuse me. Let's do that. Partly because there's so little to do in this, even if you're playing like Germany or Britain right now. Speed this up, but it does seem to sort of go awfully fast. $37. So let's. Okay, let's look at carrier primacy. And we can't yet change these laws, they're limited at this time. Okay, well. Better research and better fighters. Let's get trucks into production. Good. Light tanks. And excavation. Excuse me again. And we're going to do construction speed improvement. I guess I really am a get the infrastructure priority right over tactics. Okay. The Hindenburg disaster, we know the story there. It blew up. I don't think it was a sabotage thing, but it could have been. Oh, let's go with the Monroe Doctrine. Affirm the Monroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine was established long before the America could in any way enforce it, but it was really wasn't set up to be quote-unquote Yankee imperialism. Excuse me. But was set up to mainly to keep the European powers as much as possible out of the Americas. Obviously, Britain, had Canada and Jamaica and some of these other islands down here, and because I'm not Monroe, and I'm not even sure the exact date, but at the time, Cuba was still part of Spain, and I'm pretty sure it was after the I'm almost rather sure, but it was after South America had sort of the close of the Napoleonic War period. thrown out Spain as a colonial power in particularly South America, but also in Central America here, that they didn't want European powers coming back in, because if you look at the power of France, Britain, Spain even, they could easily have come in and taken out Venezuela or Colombia. Spain at the end of the Napoleonic Wars was completely sort of internally destroyed and couldn't, but they rebuilt themselves, and they might not have been anywhere near the power to decide to retake all of their lost colonies, but they could have retaken one of them without, obviously it would have been difficulty there, but doing so. But they wanted to try to establish a principle of not having European powers, because there was really at the time nobody else coming in and grabbing up territories of weak states in Latin America to do the P-40. Good fighter. The weak states with their fairly small armies. Also, as technology went on, they had little or no ability to produce weaponry, so they could defend themselves from one another, but not from a determined European expedition. The one sort of major failing of the Monroe Doctrine was with Mexico, when Mexico defaulted on its payments. It used to be like when a country defaulted on its payments, somebody came to collect. I mean, literally, somebody came to collect. So they came and Britain and France, I think mainly, came in and took over. I think it was, is this Veracruz down here? Yeah, Veracruz, which was the major import-export port, and secure it. And they were going to administer import and exports from Mexico and collect the taxes to pay back the loans. You weren't going to, default on it. Well, let's renegotiate. Let's see. Well, if we don't pay, you just won't give us new loans in the future. No, it was nations that come and collect, and including on behalf of major creditors within their nation. Now, Napoleon III's ambition was to expand Mexico's influence and set up a puppet state under Maximilian, one of the Austrian heirs to the Habsburg throne in there. And this only was allowed to happen because the U.S. was in the middle of its civil war. And that's why that happened. Okay, let's see. Now we've got a lot of subs. Been looking around here, so I don't know. I'm not playing Germany, so we don't need to keep building subs. I mean, not that we're not going to build more. We probably will, but let's go with a light cruiser here. Get these into production. And now we have okay, well, chromium. Who can we get chromium from? Well, let's do it from the British Raj. Australia, but not enough. I don't know if we want to trade with South Africa. That's an interesting possibility. South America, Cuba. Now, you know, I'm going to go for game reasons. We're going to do it with South Africa to help them build up their industry war effort. Ah, well, the Hindenburg blew up this game, and Amelia Earhart circumnavigates the globe in this game successfully. Unlike Lindbergh, she was not doing that alone, though she was I think the only pilot and the only one piloting. She had a navigator with her, and I forget her name and his name, but he wasn't doing any of the flying, and I don't know if he was much of a pilot at all. Just don't know. Well, let's start little tank production. There we go. Okay, we reaffirm the Monroe Doctrine. Let's go for a battle cruiser just for the fun of it. Don't know that the U.S. really had a class considered battle cruisers. Okay, the Marco Polo Bridge incident. Oh, we also need to do this. Okay, now that just unlocks these, but I want to look to see if there's other things with our world tension rising that we could research just yet. Okay, let's see. Let's South America. This will increase U.S. influence there. And we have more abilities. Do we have a factory production speed, and we still haven't gotten. We also had the Marco Polo Bridge incident, so let's see, can we? No, we can't lend lease yet at all. Of course, we've already ended the Spanish Civil War. Okay, construction industry, very good. Let's get our Marines researched. Improved machine tools, good. Okay, now that increases world tension, so let's see. No, not yet. Mexico is feeling threatened by us. How interesting. Okay, South America has been bombarded by our diplomats. Well, let's do war propaganda now that we've got the ability to do that. And towed anti-tank, good. Oh, we should probably do this. Keep our technology as far leading as we can. And our Marines are now, well, research so that we can expand them. Good, P-40s, and we will also do the carrier version, excuse me, version. And we need to convert over, of course, for here. Oh, no, stop. Over to the P-40, which will hurt your production, but at least we'll get reasonably good fighters out of it. How's China doing? Well, how's Japan doing? They've done some naval invasion. That's sort of smart of them. Okay, radio. Well, let's do war propaganda now. Some of these will unlock. Very okay. Instruction. Pair intervention. Okay, well now we have better we're volunteers. We've got volunteers instead of a disarmed nation, which helps us. So we can start on... I'm going to go for a... Oh, how many do we have trucks right now? Not many, but... Garrison brigades. Those could be useful for some of those islands, so let's... train a motorized division. And we're also going to train a marine division. Put the Marines down in San Diego. Put one of the garrisons here. I know I can just hit the add unit, but partially doing this to put them in different areas. Excuse me. I'm thinking of looking at mostly a motorized type force for intervening in Europe, where in the Pacific you don't need motorization to do island hopping campaigns. In fact, it might actually be a detriment. Okay, the Grumman fighters ready. Onslaught of Austria, onslaught, and research for radio detection. Okay, well. At this time in 36 through 38, the United States Army really sort of looked like a sort of an under-equipped World War I army, and it's very interesting in telling about the ideology of FDR and the New Dealers is that they were doing some naval production. Again, like I said, he was a naval guy, and they saw the Navy as being the primary defense of the United States. They weren't really worried about invasion from Canada. There was it's one of these War Plan Red to get ready for war with Britain, which included Canada, but that was more of just an intellectual exercise mostly. In this early or the mid 1920s, there was a bit more of a scare with Britain, but and Mexico probably had a larger army than the U.S. and a better equipped army than the U.S. at the time. But even Mexico knew that doing what it's doing here is stupid and ridiculous, because had they even concentrated all their force and moved in anywhere, the U.S. just would have gotten mad and gone in and crushed them again. And even if because Mexico wasn't going to move up to the industrial heartland of the U.S., was incapable of it. So there, no point in worrying about defenses from a Mexican invasion. They were going to lose at one point or another. The Mexican army was very much a internal army to control its internal borders. But unlike the Navy, which you build rather expensive ships, big or small, but you put relatively small numbers of men, where had they started a more military building program, building rifles, building artillery pieces, and those weapon systems, along with whether you draft them or you just increase the number of volunteers, which is probably more reasonable, but the idea that instead of you volunteer for the army instead of other work if you're young, which will absorb, give good pay, absorb a lot of people, but it will increase your, excuse me, let me get a drink here. It is a Keynesian fix to things, of course. You're putting money into things that don't necessarily pay you back. It's sort of the broken windows theory. Go around town breaking a bunch of windows. The people who install new windows, the glass manufacturing companies, and everybody else gets jobs from it. But you didn't increase anything new in the sense of there aren't more windows, there aren't more buildings. It's just simply making work for people and companies. You sort of have that effect with building armies, but it would have allowed you to have a trained, disciplined pool of men that instead, that you absorb a fair amount of men away from the workforce, young men looking for work, allow the older men to get the jobs that they would need, and then in, say, 4 years, whether you are done with the Depression, you start reducing the size of your armed forces, or you simply don't renew soldiers' contracts to stay in the army longer. You say, oh, you've been in here 4 years, bye. Oh, but I want to stay at, no, bye, so that you bring in new ones without increasing the size of the army, and that would allow you to have a greater reserve. Now, again, because I say the ideology of both America, which if you look, and some of these people are putting out there, and I think it's pro-Trump propaganda, America First, and I've seen some like America First buttons. Do these people really realize what America First was? It wasn't quite a pro-Nazi movement. That's even over. It wasn't really a pro-Nazi movement so much, but Lindbergh wasn't so anti-Nazi. Now, he didn't understand or know all of the terrible things the Nazis were going to do, and once America was at war, he was all on board at fighting the Nazis. It wasn't anything like that, but it was, the Nazis weren't thought of as so bad. A lot of the America First people that sprung up, and that only sprung up once the war started in Europe, weren't terribly upset with Germany's gain. So people using those America First buttons and campaigns really, to think about it, are you really in isolation? You really don't want to, America First would not be anywhere in the Middle East. They, in the modern sense. So they don't understand history, the people that are bringing that up. But there was a massive amount of isolationism in the United States. But one of the ways to remain, isolated is, of course, to have a strong military. No one will want to mess with you. So, let's see, now we've got more slots, so we'll increase production there, and New Jersey. And we're going to increase some Heartland here. So by expanding one's armaments production, prepare intervention. Okay, I think maybe that. I know I keep wanting to there we go. Earlier than historical for our Lend-Lease, but I want to do it in enough time to see if we can have it make an impact. Okay. Storage. We're producing. Okay, units monthly. We're producing 40 a day, so let's do. And units monthly, so yeah. And artillery. We'll do 10 units monthly. And we'll get rid of these. There we go. Good. Give some out-of-date fighters to China. Oh, of course. Need to select a new national focus. Giant wakes. Military construction. Do that. The giant awakes. Towed anti-aircraft, well that's good. We should get eventually some military experience, I think, from Lend-Lease. Maybe not. I know, of course, obviously you do from intervention, but let's see, we're going to... What did we get to? Yeah. And, of course, we should also import some rubber. Brazil? Let's import from Britain. Give Britain a factory. Help them out now. Sims class, good. Alright, well, we're going to take this opportunity to end this episode. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. Hope you post comments, questions, suggestions. See you next time.